You warmed up with Bo Nickal, easy dub, and then you had the Dan Hooker, Jan. You're like, oh shit, this is good. Then you had Dricus do Plessis, got the ups, and you're like, oh my god. And then you got Brandon Moreno and Pantoja going at it at a war, like a war. And then on top of that, you got arguably the best fighter in the world fighting next, which is Alexandre Volkanovski, fighting this crazy contender who's acrobatic, a crazy athlete, Yair Rodríguez. That's why I picked this fight card that has been the best this year. Hey guys, welcome to the False Nine Podcast here with episode 158. I'm your host, Alvaro. Guys, we've been moving. We've been on the go. Well, not really on the go, but we just been, like grinding it out. I've been grinding it out, trying to post these clips, make good videos for you guys, and just really embrace kind of what the process, you can say. And I want to tell you guys just get a little personal with you guys. Like, I mean, recently it's been tough for me to make videos. Just moved in with my girlfriend, and like getting in the rhythm, and then also like really figuring out like, okay, how am I gonna approach this podcast? Am I gonna have a guest? Am I gonna have a co-host? What do I want the next 6 months to look like, or just the next 2-3 months? And it was a very tough, like, I guess, conversation with myself. It was a tough, it was just hard to figure it out and like wrap it around my head. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this and go with it. So yeah, I figured it out. I think, if you guys, I mean, I don't know what background I'll have. Hopefully I did it right. Hopefully it looks good. But I mean, we're gonna just go all in on like fighting content, like UFC and boxing and any like kind of breaking sports news. But really focus on that type of content, priority UFC, and then boxing, and and then so on. But I really noticed that it's one thing that I'm passionate about. It's one thing that that you guys as viewers enjoy, whether you agree or disagree with me. But it's there, and I see it, and I'm like, okay, this is working. Let me approach it like this, and let me just try and get better at this. So I mean, I'll just be watching. Sorry, I don't know why this happens every time I start recording. I got to burp. But, I've been watching like Chael Sonnen. I forgot the other sports or guy who does podcasts about sports or UFC content. But I've been trying to like, learn and see, read, comment, and really like, okay, I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to talk about this. I need to talk about that. I was debating whether I want to do 1 episode or 2 episodes per week. And I've noticed that, 2 episodes per week right now, it's really useful. I get to put enough content. I'm in a process where I'm kind of learning how to post, learning how to make titles, learning how to make thumbnails. And I was like, I need to have enough like content to make, to practice the titles, to practice the thumbnails. So I'm going to go pretty hard on uploading, on creating, and just generating ideas. So I really hope the next few months look really good for us. I really think the rest of the year is going to be strong. We're going to go hard. This is the beginning probably of the grind, like on a line going like this as far as growth. So I'm really excited. I'm really motivated. I'm really happy. I'm in a good headspace, thankfully. And I just want to create good UFC content. And I do also want to apologize for not replying to comments like that. I just don't, there's just so many negative ones that like I got to go through them just to see one good one. And that can just, it takes a lot of time, and it's just draining sometimes because it's just like negative. And you kind of get like, damn, like what the fuck? Like, am I really bad, or is this really dumb idea? And then I see that good one and it makes me happy, but then I got to go see another 10 shitty ones, and it's just tough. So, but I do my best to try and look through comments. But if you post comments on the YouTube video, like the actual podcast, I will reply to that one. If it's negative, I'll just give you a like and a heart. But if it's somewhat just not negative, I'll definitely reply to it. So I do want to just put that out there. So let's get this episode on the road. On this episode, I mean, really, as far as the title, like I'm going to talk about my favorite UFC card of the year, just because we're obviously over half of the year, but we're reaching a time where the UFC is going to put out their best fights, and I just want to state which one has been my favorite fight card. So And we talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about a UFC fight night tomorrow, Saturday. And then we're going to talk about just some things that I saw on the internet. I'm not going to talk about it because they're really short. So let's get right to it, man. Let's talk about my favorite UFC fight card. And I'm going to tell you guys all about it. I mean, this card was stacked. This card had just the best fighters in the UFC and in their divisions, and just the drama that it came with it. I'm going to go right to it, man. UFC 290. You know, we had Volkanovski versus Yair Rodríguez. That fight card has been my favorite card this year. And like I said, to me, it's just been like, so I'm going to go through the fights, and then I'm going to talk about every fight and why I think just this card makes sense on being one of the best this year. We have Bo Nickal versus Val Woodburn. We all know Bo Nickal. He's on the come up, very popular. I mean, he's on somewhat of a rampage lately. You know, Bo Nickal's over here saying, like, Khamzat Chimaev wrestling's not good. And I was like, oh, wow, like, that's very bold for him to say. I forgot who else he said that wasn't really that good, and I was a little shook by that. So he's just kind of I don't know if he's being real or he's just trying to, like, cause some tension or what. So, you know, and then Val, his story was kind of like, it was a little sad, you know, like he had nobody with him supporting him at the airport, or like when they did that embedded video, like it was just him by himself. I'm sure his team eventually got there, but, you know, he's an upcoming guy. But, I mean, you start off with that one. Bo Nickal gets a really nice knockout, and it looks positive for him. So we'll see what he does next, or what he was going to do next. And that was just the warm-up. So this is where we get to, like, the good fights. And I was not expecting this fight to be good. We had Dan Hooker versus Jalin Turner. And I had Jalin Turner winning this fight. That's who I had picked. And I was like, man, this fight's going to be steady. And I remember I was with my girl. We was eating Wingstop. And I was like, let's just have this fight on. And we're watching it. And it's like, all right. You know, Jalin looks like he's finna put out. Damn, what's his name already? I forgot. Dan Hooker. He's about to put him out and just take him away. I was like, he's about to finish him. He already got him stunned. He's hurt. And, you know, whatever. Second round comes. And Dan Hooker, same thing, kind of getting beat up. But then halfway through the second round, Dan Hooker just turns it up. And he just starts going after Jalin. And it gets really competitive. So now that fight is just like, who wins that? Like, who won that round? And then the third round comes, and it's all Dan Hooker. Jalin got tired, and Dan Hooker was all over him. And then even after the fight, and these are all factors why I think this fight card was the shit. They go to the hospital. They take pictures together. I think Dan Hooker fractured something. I don't know if it was something in his shin or his forearm. It was some flat bone, something like that, right? I didn't mention also this was Robbie Lawler's last fight on that same day. So he had got the knockout. So that was pretty, like, iconic to see Robbie get the knockout. And again, this is all on the same fight card. So, you know, you have that Dan Hooker fight, and you're just like, holy smokes, man. Like, that shit was crazy. And we're only 2 fights in the night. And then you got 3 more. So then you got Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis next, right? And you're like, and again, this fight card, it was something else. I did not have a lot of high hopes. I knew it was stacked, but I was like, I mean, it's going to be all right. It's going to be really good, actually. It's going to be, like, one of the best. And I just didn't expect it to be as good as it was. So you got Robert Whittaker, who's a fucking killer. And then you got this goofy dude, you know, and he talks a lot of shit. He talk a little, like, goofy, just, I don't know, like, he's trying to talk shit, but it's really corny. And he's like, I don't know, like, he doesn't know how to talk shit, basically. And Robert Whittaker, I mean, he's been a UFC champion. He looks mean. He looks like a killer. And you go in there, like, Robert Whittaker should go in there and just kill this guy. Like, go beat his ass, put him out. And the fight does not go like that at all, you know. And Dricus looks so goofy fighting. It's so weird. And then Robert Whittaker's just, And then next thing you know, du Plessis putting on this pace on him. And then he catches him and then puts him out. And you're just like, what the, right? And I'm watching this, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, how did Dricus du Plessis just pull this off? And he made it look kind of easy. This is Bo Nickal was the one that also said Dricus du Plessis was, I think, sloppy, or Robert. He said one of them were sloppy. But anyways, du Plessis puts him out, and everybody's shocked. I'm shocked. The world's shocked. Twitter shocked. And we're like, oh my God, like, is this guy good? Like, is he really good? And we start giving Dricus du Plessis his respect because, I mean, he just took out Robert Whittaker. And I'm like, well, shit, yeah, I mean, this guy's good, I guess. And then so after the fight, obviously, we know that Israel Adesanya comes in and starts saying, like, N-word, N-word, N-word. And Dricus du Plessis, I swear he wants to say it, but he's too, I don't know, he kind of punked out. I would have said it, fuck it. But you have that drama and you're like, oh man, like du Plessis and Izzy finna fight next. Da da da. Like, and this was Izzy just getting that KO against Alex. So like he was looking for a new opponent and it was like, well, who does he fight? Who does he fight? You know? And then Dricus does this. I mean, now we know that fight's not going to happen yet. I think it still will happen no matter what. But I mean, it's just like, damn, like, you know, and this is the third fight, and you're like, damn, like, Dricus du Plessis, like, he just, like, broke a barrier at all levels, you know, like, he just earned his title shot, like, that's what happened, and, you know, and at that division, I mean, I think it's a hard division. I know a lot of people on the internet hate on that division, that it's easy and this and that, but I'm like, that's a division that's been cleaned out by Izzy, and, you know, it's kind of hard to stand out or look like a reasonable opponent. So for Dricus du Plessis to go in there and do that against someone like Robert Whittaker, it was just like mind blowing. It was like, holy smokes, like what the fuck just happened, right? And then yeah, and then the next fight, which was Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja. I did not think this fight was going to be as competitive as it was. I had no idea. I thought it was gonna be a nice, like, rhythm. Like, they're gonna go back and forth. Some people, they're gonna get caught here and there. Like, you know, it's gonna be a good fight. But dude, that fight's gonna be one of the best fights of the year. They went all 5 rounds, and they just went at it at each other. Pantoja did not. He did not take no as an answer. Like, he went in there and he was like, I'm gonna be champion no matter what. You know, and I was very salty about how some of the things that he did during the fight, but I mean, he was just trying to be champion. So he went in there and just fucking put it on Brandon. As soon as the fight started, just put him on first round, and you're like, oh my God. And I'm like, Brandon, what the are you doing? You about to lose your belt. Like, it's over for you. You about to get knocked out. And then second round comes and Brandon adjusts, and I don't know if it was the second or third round where Brandon like kind of responds to Pantoja like, hey man, I'm the champion, like you're gonna have to earn it. And then Brandon does a really good round, and then Pantoja just he doesn't slow down. Like, I thought he was getting tired, and he didn't. He just fucking kept going, and he kept fighting. And I think Brandon Moreno is the one that broke something in his arm, and I want to say Hooker is the one that messed up his leg. But anyways, Brandon Moreno, I think he broke his he broke something or something in his arm was fucked up. So he has a cast, or he had a cast. But I mean, those dudes went at it, and it was a title fight, you know. And this is, I think, their 4th fight. The first 2, I think they were in the Contender Series, and then they fought in the UFC. And you know, Pantoja hasn't lost. He hasn't lost to Brandon Moreno at all. And you know, Brandon Moreno is the champion. He's loved, and he's a beast. He has a legacy already made for himself. And to be in a fight like that, back-to-back for Brandon Moreno, like, I mean, besides the Kayakata France, all his other fights, I want to say, has been 5 rounds. So he's been in constant wars. And then for him to go into another one and go 5 rounds with Pantoja, and then for Pantoja to put that pressure on Brandon, knowing that Brandon's been in these wars, it's just like, it was just mind-blowing, to be honest with you, because Pantoja hasn't been through what Brandon has been, but he was in there ready to fucking go, ready to go. And from the moment I saw Embedded, the first episode, he said, I'm in Vegas. It feels like home. I feel like I belong here. Like, he said that he was just taking all the energy. And I was like, dude, that man is dangerous. You know, like, it's kind of corny, but when someone's like in their element like that, I mean, it's just a different story. And so what he did that night was so impressive. And I mean, I was so upset with Brandon, but I mean, I want to say he got hurt like the second or third round, and that's why the rest of the fight went that way. But it was 5 rounds of just someone's going to get knocked the fuck out. And nobody did. It was one of those fights. And, I mean, Pantoja came with the win, and it was just like, when the fight was over, I mean, my heart rate was crazy. I was like, holy shit. And then, I mean, and I'm just sad, like, fuck, man, Brandon Moreno, like, what did you do? Why did, like, I was just upset, man. But, I mean, it was like, it was crazy. It was crazy, you know, and it was like you warmed up with Bo Nickal, easy dub. And then you had the Dan Hooker, Jan. You're like, oh shit, this is good. Then you had Dricus do Plessis, cut the ups, and you're like, oh my god. And then you got Brandon Moreno and Pantoja going at it at a war, like a war. And then on top of that, you got arguably the best fighter in the world fighting next, which is Alexandre Volkanovski, fighting this crazy contender who's like acrobatic, a crazy athlete, Yair Rodríguez. And that's why I picked this fight card to be that has been the best this year. Because you warmed up and then you worked your way up, and then I remember we got to the Volkanovski fight and I was like, I'm done watching UFC for the day. Like I was done. It was just too much, you know. And I think my girlfriend couldn't watch the last fight. She was just like, I still am recovering from the Brandon Moreno fight. And you know, I watched that Volkanovski fight like in a weird headspace because my heart rate has been so high. I'm pretty sure I had high blood pressure. I was stressing. I had all the emotions through my body. And when I got to that fight, I just released them emotions. And I was just like, oh, my God. Like, you know, watching the fight, relieving all my stress from the last few fights and all the buildup. And then, I mean, Volkanovski just showing that he's the best of the world, arguably the GOAT, and currently the pound for pound. And it's just like a top performance from him. And that was just like the cherry on top of that fight card. You know, and there's really nothing to speak about that fight just because of all the other fights. And in my head, I knew Volkanovski was going to come in there and give him the work and do really, really good. And he was just going to put out a top-notch performance. You know, his confidence, his form has been amazing. So I thought he was going to go in there and just put out a really good performance. I don't know if it was going to be his best or not, but a really good performance. Yair caught him with some sneaky shots, but, I mean, Volkanovski's just too good. Just too good, and just finished Yair, I want to say, was it like the third or the fourth? And I said, I mean, he's just going to study him, and then he's just going to catch him. And that's exactly what happened. And, I mean, that was the fight card. And I remember going to sleep that day, and I was just like, oh, my God. Like, it took me a while to, like, really get back to normal because of how much drama and anxiety or stress or emotions was going through my body. And I don't know if it was because I was so intrigued of the fighters or what it was, but that fight card got me, like, it was wild. But, yeah, that was my best fight card, you know, of the year. So let's talk about the other few things that I wanted to talk about. So we got UFC Fight Night tomorrow. We got Ciryl Gane versus Serghei Spivac. And I think they're fighting somewhere like, I don't know where they're fighting, but I know it's like in Europe or somewhere across the world. But we got Ciryl Gane versus Serghei Spivac. Ciryl Gane obviously coming out of a loss against Jon Jones, you know, arguably also the GOAT. Definitely one of the best ever to fight. I mean, he got put out in a minute. So this is a fight where Ciryl Gane, I mean, he has to show that it wasn't a walk of the park for Jon Jones. So, like, he has to put this guy out within, like, 2 rounds, in my opinion, to even be in the conversation, like, to get another title shot. Because I want to say he's been in 2 already, if I'm not mistaken. So, to get a third one, I mean, it's tough because, like, you didn't make it a close fight on the second one. The first one, I mean, he lost against Ngannou, I'm assuming. So, it's like you got to put out performances where you stand out and you're like, okay, like, you could be champion or you'll be a good champion. So, I mean, hopefully he can make a statement on Saturday because that's what he needs to do. He needs to go in there, make a statement, put him out, and just show that he's going to bounce back from losing to Jon Jones, you know, and not just be like, oh, I lost to the best and that's it. No, you lost to the best, but, hey, I mean, he caught me, but I'm back, I'm stronger, I'm here to fight, and I'm here to become champion. So hopefully he comes out on Saturday and he does that. But we'll see. Then we got Manon, Fiorot versus Rose Namajunas. This fight, I don't know what to feel or what to think because of how, just how Rose's career has been. I honestly, and I hate to say this about fighters because I'm nobody to speak, but I really feel like I think we're getting close to the end of her career. A lot of people on the internet have not been happy with her performances. Fans hasn't been happy. So who knows, how this fight's going to be for her. But I think this fight, it's more about her than the other fighter. But, I mean, if the other fighter gets a win over Rose, it's just damn. Rose, are you done? Are you going to finish your career? Or how we looking? It's going to be, it's a lot of pressure for Rose. Now, for the other girl, I mean, it'll be cool. It'll be chill. I mean, and hopefully we just get a good fight. But Rose definitely has to show that she's in here in the UFC to fight. Because we know that when she lost her belt, it was a boring fight. And I don't know if she's had another fight since then. But let's just hope not for a boring fight. Because like I said, a lot of people haven't been too happy. And then we had, what's his name? Mighty Mouse. What's his name? Dang, I know it's DJ. Demetrious Johnson. So he said he went on, I think he was on a stream or something, and he was saying that how in MMA, it's easier to become a champion in MMA than boxing, was he was speaking about. And it was really interesting hearing that from, again, one of the best guys ever to fight in the octagon and just in the UFC. So from coming up from him, you're like, well, shit, is it easier? You're coming out, you're an MMA fighter, you're so skillful, these different arts. So for him to say that, it was just I mean, a lot of people were talking about it. So I just wanted to, I guess, speak about it because I somewhat agree to that. Because boxing, you're limited to one, it's not a skill, but to one art, which is boxing. And obviously there's different styles of boxing, but it's only boxing. So, and he made a good comparison. He's like, well, in MMA, if you're fighting against a grappler, just don't go to the ground. You don't be fighting a striker, just take him to the ground and, whatever. Versus boxing, it's just you got to punch or get punched. That's it. And in MMA, it's a little bit different. Take him to the ground, hold him, punch him, and mix it up. And, I mean, if you're a really good wrestler, I'm not going to say no names, but good wrestler, you take people down, you could win the fight. And people will become champion that way. And if you're a really good striker, terrified striker like Alex Pereira, you can go in there, get some good knockouts. There's a backstory. You got a title shot, and you took advantage of the opportunity, and you catch Izzy Adesanya, and now you're champion. And not a lot of people don't respect your MMA background because they're like, oh, he can't get taken to the ground. He's not a good wrestler. So there's that. I thought it was just pretty interesting. I somewhat agreed to him because it is very limited. So I think it's pretty cool, that we see MMA fighters or UFC fighters, kind of put their 2 cents into fighting and what they think. So very interesting. Another thing, this is something that really kind of was oh shit. Dana White speaks about Merab, and he kind of wasn't happy. He was just kind of saying you're not, when you get into UFC, it's not about friendships. It's not about this. It's not about that. It's about fighting and fighting the best in the world. And I don't know if Dana White just likes to talk shit or stir up, but I'm like, man, you train with this guy. Merab trains with Aljamains. They probably help Merab a lot with as far as language barrier and making him feel welcome because he's, he's not American and he's probably training in America. And, for me, it just seems like Merab has this crazy loyalty to his team and to Aljamain and everyone around him. So I kind of find shitty that Dana White's speaking about Merab and his loyalty to his camp and to Aljamain. Because I get his frustration because this guy's one of the best. He should be champion. He should be fighting next for the belt. But he's saying no because Aljamain should he deserves it, not me. I understand that frustration because, I mean, when in the UFC have we seen that? Where, like, we got, two people that probably come from the same camp, and it's like the champion and then the number one ranked guy, and it's like, well, what do you do? So, and usually when people are in the same camp or come out from the same gyms or like train in the same gym, usually they don't fight against each other because they know how each other fight, So it's pretty shitty that Dana White says that. I mean, he's speaking facts. He's being honest. He's being real. You get into the UFC to fight the best and to become the champion of the world, and he made it seem like Merab's just there to be there, and I don't think that's true, and I think Aljamain also understands that Merab wants to be champion, and I mean that's what the plan was: Aljamain to win, walk away, and then Merab was going to take the throne, and now it just made things rough, and Merab made the decision and spoke about it that when Aljamain gets his chance, that's when he'll be next for the title, but he feels and thinks that Aljamain deserves his rematch. So, little wishy-washy situation. Now, the last thing I want to talk about was Andy Reid. That's Andy Ruiz. He made a comment. He went on Instagram Live, because they're trying to make him the Wilder fight. They're trying to make that happen. And he's talking about how he wants to get paid more than his last fight, which is $10 million. Who knows if he got paid 9.5, 9.9, 8, 6, whatever. And he's saying that he wants to get paid what he deserves and this and that. And I just want to put like my thought on that. Deontay Wilder's like on a high right now. Like he's beating people up, getting knockouts, looking powerful, looking good on social media. And Andy Reid hasn't. I mean, he got a fluke against Joshua, and that's the only reason why he's relevant. Is because he beat Anthony Joshua, and he was like the first one to ever like beat him and put like maybe show a weakness to Joshua's game. I don't know. And it was kind of like a fluke because he got fucked up the second fight, and he said that he went out and party and blah blah blah. But I'm like, bro, I don't know who you fought last. I don't know who was your last fight. I really don't know. No disrespect to him. But I'm like, you're not the draw here. You're not the one getting all the pay-per-view buys. It's Deontay Wilder. As Mexicans, obviously, we're going to be behind you, but it's not like where you're the freaking draw. So I think it's kind of lame, especially when they start talking about, they take it out on social media. Like, oh, I need to get paid 50% or 10 mil or whatever. I'm like, keep that like behind the scenes. And maybe he's just talking crap, and just trying to stir the negotiations. Who knows? But I'm like, man, Andy Ruiz, I mean, I don't know who you last fought. You haven't like beat nobody since Joshua, in my opinion. So I don't think he's in a place where he needs to make those demands, because the Ruiz fight Ruiz versus Wilder, like that helps Ruiz. It doesn't do anything for Wilder, It's just a good selling fight, but on paper and in general, Wilder's probably going to knock his ass out. So that's why I don't think he's in a position where he should get that money. Now, maybe he wants that money because maybe if he loses this fight, he knows that he's not going to get any other big pay-per-view fights. I don't know. So, yeah. But, guys, that's the end of the episode. I hope I did good with the green screen. I hope it looks good. I hope this episode's good. I was really excited to record today, if you guys can't tell. So, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. I hope you guys had a great week. Hope you guys get paid today. Peace.